Hello everybody, my name is Mr. Dumpkins, and today we're going to be walking through Huntsman's Copse with the ENB series turned on. ENB series was not created by me. I'll put a link in the description to where you can download it, but it's a little shader tool injector that will make your game just a little bit darker. And by a little bit, I mean you're going to have to use torches or your cast light spell to even see. As you can see right now, in default Dark Souls, we would be able to see where we're going. We would be able to visit Lycia. And this heads to Huntsman's Copse, but you see here we're going to have to use our cast light spell to be able to see anything. I'll use a torch for the rest of it. Cast light is one of my favorite spells in Dark Souls 2, with this ability, and it really means that your exploration is limited to the amount of spell casts or torch time that you have in some levels. Other levels like Iron Keep, Forest of Fallen Giants, such like that, you can get through it without using a torch, which is nice that not every level is like this, but the fact that every level is just daytime in the default version of this game is horrendous. So we're moving towards Huntsman's Copse now. We see Falcon staring at his bum on a wall. And we can see that the area is infinitely darker than what you would normally see. And let's take a look at what the rest of it has in store for us. So you can see here that you can't even see ahead of you, meaning that you have to be careful that these enemies will just come out of nowhere. These butterflies or moths become harder to see. You can't even see the bottom of the little secret area down there, unless there's a message or something lighting it up. And it makes this exploration in this level require a torch. Once I get past this area, I will take it off, and you'll see how dark it really is. And these enemies are much more threatening in the darkness because they are fast, and they will run at you out of the darkness from nowhere. And when there's multiple ones coming at you, like let's say if you kept running for some reason, then it just becomes overwhelming. And I'm sure that this is the design that they had in mind when they first made this level. And the lighting system with ENB means that these scones are actually useful, because you will have to light them as sort of checkpoints. Not as impressive as bonfires or as satisfying as finally lighting one, but getting to a scone that you have been previously unable to get to means that you won't have to use the torch to get there anymore. So it feels like progress, even though it's not as much progress as a bonfire. So here I'm going to take the torch off once we get to this area, and as we can see here, we can't really see anything. We have no idea what is in store for us. We can see some trees, so we can assume that we might be traveling through a little foresty area. We don't know how long it is. We don't know where it goes. We don't know anything, and I really like that idea. That when you come into a level, you should feel a little bit disoriented and not really know anything. And classic Souls-wise, we get our objective in the distance that we want to move towards. We don't know anything about it, but we do know that light is somewhere that we want to go. So From Software definitely shows off a very cool tool with their level design on this. Alright, so let's light a torch again. And now it becomes sort of a horror romp through the woods, as you don't know what could be behind a tree, you don't know where you are, and it just makes every encounter just that more threatening. You have to move slowly through this forest to avoid getting too many enemies piled upon you at once. If you just move through the default path, you will eventually, get up to that flame area where we would raise the bridge for continuing the level, or lower the bridge. As you can see, it's not very easy to see the shortcut or I guess the path to the Executioner's Chariot here. It just looks like it's, you know, just a little bit of a woodsy area, maybe a cliff or something. So it makes exploration and multiple paths much more exciting because there's darkness to hide the fact that there are paths, even though this level is relatively quite small. And as we move on to our level, now we're greeted with our first bonfire checkpoint, you know, after that foresty area. And there's a lot of light here to show you that, you know, hey, this is sort of a little safe area for you. And be ready to continue onwards. And as you can see, we can see a little bit more in the distance now. It's not as dark as the beginning of this level, and that's because we're getting further upwards. So the lighting is going to be reaching us further from the background. As you can see some of the rays are touching the top of these hills. And in fact, you can see we can almost take off our torch and we can still see where we're, sort of see where we're going. We have a lot more vision up here, as you can see, than we did down on the Copse. But it's still enough that we would still probably be more comfortable with a torch. But I really like that the lighting here sort of signifies that it's going toward daytime, as you can see sort of the sunrise over the horizon here. Because, you know, as you move to Harvest Valley, the game turns to daytime, so it's really cool that like halfway through this level, or further than halfway through this level, the lighting does shift a little bit as you go upwards, but you know, the light is obstructed by the dark again once we get down here. And here we move towards the Skeleton Lords. And I really like this effect here that, you know, you've been traveling through this dark level with your torch the entire time, and here they're like, you're like, oh man, am I gonna lose my torch? But From Software's not that evil, I guess. But you don't really need it after that, unless you want to unlock the shortcut right here. And the shortcut looks area is much better. Once again, you know, scones are very useful here because they light up the room, meaning that once you've been to this place once, as you can see here, and light these scones, you won't need a torch anymore for this shortcut, meaning that things become just easier for you and you feel more accomplished, like you've actually done something as you're moving through this level. It doesn't feel like you're just killing enemies just to get to the boss. Enemies become harder to kill or more fun to kill because you can see them. You don't have to worry about lighting or your torch running out. I think the scones were a very good checkpoint system. So many skeletons. And as you can see here, it's pretty dark without the torch, but we have our little light to show us the way. And I think in default, or if From Software had implemented this lighting system themselves, I think that the torch would have illuminated a lot more of the area, and the shader would have worked a lot better because, you know, they would have had access to all of their systems. So now we get out of Huntsman, you know, we get back to our normal shortcut area, and you can see that that area in there would have been a lot more intense with that lighting, since you're not just fighting a bunch of skeletons, you're also fighting a bunch of skeletons while there are sorcerers that are shooting you that you can't see while you're carrying around a torch, so you have no shield to block yourself. It really makes you think that, oh, well, maybe that shortcut is not worth it until I put some work into it. And I think that was, you know, nice. Instead of just running through it and killing all the skeletons, you have to light the scone, and then you have to light the other scone, and as you keep moving, you feel like you're progressing throughout the level because it gets lighter and lighter. And I really like that effect. And it just doesn't work in the default Huntsman's Copse as well. So that is a run through of the level on a more darker setting, and it really does improve the environment. I would definitely recommend downloading ENB series, checking it out, running through some other levels. because each level just, it gets its own unique theme because of the lighting. I really like it. And for closing notes, I'll just show you guys what it looks like in comparison here. So as you can see, we can already see the bridge is pretty light, and looking in the background, we can see everything. I mean, it almost looks like daytime coming down here. I mean, it's crazy. Look at this. We can see, it just looks like it's light time. It's not night anymore. It's just the sun shining through there. There's no darkness. We can see where we need to go, what needs to be done. And it really just takes the joy and discovery and wonder and risk out of the level when you can see everything. You know, makes those moths easier to kill, at least. I don't know. So I definitely prefer the darker version to Huntsman's Copse. What do you guys think? Just leave a comment below. Alright guys, that's Mr. Dumpkins signing out.